War is not only about loss and sacrifice, but also about the sparkling fragments of love, beautiful to the point of heartache. Amidst the fierce bombs and bullets, is there room for a bright fragment of love? The Last Moon in the Forest by author Nguyen Minh Chau not only vividly recreates the atmosphere of the arduous anti-American resistance war, but also successfully portrays the images of soldiers, young, courageous female volunteers, alongside the romantic love story between Lang and Nguyet. Join us in listening to the short story, The Last Moon in the Forest, on the audio story channel, Bear's Little Storybook. The wick, nearly extinguished, suddenly burst into a crackling flame inside the milk can filled with oil residue. From the deep, silent forest came the sound of a stream flowing and the plaintive, yearning cries of a pair of birds. It was late, yet more than 10 drivers were still lying or sitting haphazardly in the rickety bamboo hut of the petrol station, none willing to go to sleep. Behind the cover that partially blocked the light, the kerosene lamp cast a large cloud of smoke, illuminating more than a dozen oil-stained faces and casting a glare onto the bumpy road with its bomb craters and deep tire tracks. Tonight, with the rain pouring down, the driver platoon had the chance to return almost in full force. The bamboo hut was very noisy, occasionally bursting into laughter that shook the forest. I don't know if there is anything more joyful and lively in the world than nights like tonight, when the drivers, after many trips on the roads, return to meet each other. After dozens of nights awake at the wheel, you'd think they'd fall asleep the moment they lay down, but no one felt sleepy. "Are you done? It's my turn to tell a story, right?" One hadn't finished speaking before another eagerly chimed in. It seems that in each person's mind, countless images from the road are swirling, and at this very moment those images are jostling to come alive again. "Are you done yet?" "It's my turn to tell a story," a man lying in the dark corner says. "One night in early March this year, my goods truck set off from warehouse K3. That time, my assistant driver took the wheel to collect the goods for me, as I was busy attending a meeting of veteran drivers at the battalion headquarters. After the meeting, I would pick up my truck along the way and continue the journey. Let me tell you a bit about my co-driver. He was a cheerful young recruit, hard-working but a bit of a flirt. The story I'm about to tell happened when I was making a few emergency trips along the Western Road. The Western Road was in the rainy season at that time, but the enemy was also attacking fiercely. The sections through the ravines and tunnels, especially the Dazan Bridge section, were where our comrades were fighting the enemy to hold the road to the border. That day it was just getting dark with scattered rain, and I was at the battalion headquarters waiting for the vehicle at the top of the Vang Che slope. A piece of nylon wrapped around a hammock tucked under my arm, a flashlight dangling loosely on my chest. I stood smoking a cigarette with an air of calm and relaxation. It must be said that as a soldier who drove throughout the dry season and into the rainy season, moments of leisure like this were rare and precious. I crossed my legs against the tree trunk by the roadside, exhaling smoke in circles and gazing at the thin crescent moon with dreamy eyes. But it didn't last long. I began to grow impatient as vehicles raced past like racehorses, yet there was no sign of my fellow driver coming to take the wheel. The longer the night dragged on, the more impatient I grew. I strained my ears but still couldn't hear the familiar sound of singing. I was utterly frustrated. In wartime, our vehicle only needed to overtake others by half a wheel's length. Crossing the ferry or the tunnel was already a breeze. Moreover, this time I had planned to leave early, deliver the goods early, and return in time to hide the vehicle in the remote fuel storage area. Hiding it there was certain, and it was close to where my older sister worked. I had asked my superiors for permission to visit my sister during this delivery trip. My sister wrote in her letter complaining, "It's been more than 3 years since I last saw you, Lam." But anyway, that was just a personal matter. I was annoyed and worried that the car wouldn't be able to pick up the goods or encounter some obstacle, when the co-driver drove up from the bottom of the slope and honked the horn loudly like a fire engine. Ignoring my irritation, he quietly handed me the delivery slip, cheerfully placing a packet of sticky rice and a thermos of sugar water into the boot. "Wish you a safe journey." The cheerful fellow winked mischievously, then gave my shoulder a hard thump that stung. With that, he jumped down onto the road. This time, according to the platoon's assignment, I was going alone. I often took charge of one end of the vehicle alone. The co-driver worked at home. After bidding me farewell, The co-driver took a few steps before turning back, grabbing my hand and banging it against the vehicle door with a thud. "Mr. Lamb, according to the delivery note, I checked and found that one tire is missing. I've already had you sign for it, you know." "All right," I replied and was very satisfied with the job. "There's one more thing. This one is there, but it's not listed on the note." "What else?" "In the back, there's someone hitching a ride to Dazan Bridge." I was extremely surprised and asked sharply, "Why did you act so arbitrarily?" "The reason is this, sir. Although the reasons given by the comrade driving the car for giving someone a lift were reasonable, I was still angry with him. I guessed that the person sitting in the back must be a girl. And then a very familiar scene appeared before my eyes. On one side, a girl clutching a white hat stood close to the car door, looking coy. On the other side, my assistant driver sat perched in the driver's seat, asking vague questions, a smile and a cigarette butt peeking out. That was bad enough for me. How could the car leave early with that story still hanging? The co-driver had turned around at some point. I sat there hesitating for a few seconds. The car was going through so many dangerous stretches and there was a stowaway inside. But could I really ask them to get out and walk now? All right, I decided to go. Before starting the engine, I turned to look through the iron mesh attached to the back, seeing only pitch darkness and smelling the scent of new rubber. I had no idea where the stowaway was sitting. "Who's in there?" I called out, my voice not exactly gentle. There was no reply, only the sound of movement among the piles of car tires at the back. Then I heard a soft clucking sound like a chick pecking in its nest. I guessed that the conversation between me and the co-driver, the passenger, had been heard clearly. And now that I had spoken up, the person was afraid. Surely they were nervous that I wouldn't let them ride along. But who was it? Was anyone sitting back there? I repeated the question, this time in a less harsh tone. "It's me. I'm asking you to take me to Dazan Bridge for a moment." My guess was right. It was clearly the voice of a woman, a girl, speaking clearly and very calmly, even firmly. Still, I pressed on. Man or woman? A man. "Come on, miss, I should have asked you to get out. This is a military transport vehicle. What business do you have at Dazan Bridge?" "I'm a transport worker. The officer already checked my ID. I have some business at my unit." I asked a random question for fun. "What business? Or are you visiting your husband or boyfriend?" "I'm visiting my boyfriend." I quickly started the engine, feeling a bit alarmed by how boldly the girl spoke. But from her tone, it didn't sound like a joke. Who knows? Maybe she was telling the truth. "Hey lads, bear with us a moment." The driver, who was telling a story hidden in the darkness, called out. Everyone was eager to know the background of the girl who had hitched a ride. They kept making a racket, urging him to continue. From the forest came the sound of a stream flowing over rocks and the timid chirping of a pair of birds at the two corners of the forest. The storyteller bent over the edge of the bamboo mat, his eyes squinting against the smoke, blowing out the blue flame burning inside the cow's milk tube. The hut was suddenly plunged into darkness, filled with the strange sounds of the forest night. The story continued. "Comrades, don't be impatient with the girl. Let her sit there among the piles of car tires. Now I'll interject with a small story, my own personal story. I have a sister who works as an official at the Dazan Bridge construction site. 4 or 5 years ago, those of us who often traveled the Western Road would surely remember the bustling, lively scene at the Dazan Bridge construction site. From the very first day the construction site opened, my sister Tin was there. She was in the stone cutting team. There were many young women working with stone, hundreds of them. In my sister's team, there was a girl named Nguyet. Yes, Nguyet means moon. A rather beautiful name. She was a schoolgirl who had just left school to help build the Western region. My sister regarded Nguyet as a younger sister, loving her dearly because she was so well-behaved and positive. In every letter she sent me, my sister mentioned that girl, recounting all her good qualities. Then in one letter, my sister said, "I've thought it through. I've set my sights on Nguyet for you. It's hard to find a girl like that in this world." In the next letter, my sister urged me to go and meet her, and said, "I've also told her my intentions directly." She just blushed and said nothing. "But whenever I talk about you, about how you ran away from home to join the army, she listens very attentively. You should go up there right away. Nguyet also wants to meet you. All it takes is for the two of you to meet once, and that's it." Back then, after joining the army, I worked as a driver's assistant, often driving routes in the north. I also made a few trips to the west, stopping by the construction site to visit Sister Tin and Nguyet, but I didn't meet either of them. In the letters I sent to my sister, I often added a few lines asking about Nguyet and hinting at a promise to meet her. Nguyet must have seen all the letters I sent to Sister Tin, so she knew a little about me. In the remote mountainous region, a letter arriving was considered shared by everyone. After several years, my sister returned to Hanoi to study. Then the war against the Americans broke out. I was discharged and then re-enlisted. The roads in the west and central regions were heavily bombed by the enemy. I hadn't had time to marry, but I had long forgotten the story of Ms. Nguyet and the letters from my sister Tin. After nearly 2 years of studying, my sister Tin returned to the Western Front. From the familiar mountains, she wrote to me again, this time recounting the enemy's bombardment of Dazan Bridge and how the transport units were determined to protect the road for the vehicles to pass. These stories were nothing new to me. But strangely enough, my sister insisted that Nguyet still remembered me and was waiting for me. Over the years, many people asked, but she always replied that she had already made a promise to someone else. My sister mentioned that Nguyet was working underground in a very dangerous place still close to her. She had grown up, becoming even more obedient, brave, and more beautiful than before. To be honest, holding Sister Tin's letter this time made me very happy and moved. And it was also very strange. After so many years of living amid bombs and destruction, how could a girl still hold in her heart the image of a boy she had never met and who had never promised her anything? In her heart, that tiny, shiny green thread through time and bombs has not faded, has not broken. The happiness that girl brought me was too much, so I felt like I owed her a debt of gratitude. I had to meet Nguyet. I decided to write to my sister, setting a date to meet Nguyet. That was the day my platoon gave me permission to take off. After the truck carrying tires to the supply depot, I would return to the field where the cars were hidden, then stop by where my sister Tin worked. There, Tin would take me to Nguyet's team. I would stay for a day as a passing guest of the female traffic workers at the underground station. The GAT rolled smoothly along the road. The forest night was truly quiet and still. I gently placed my fingers on the steering wheel, my eyes fixed ahead, imagining the moment I would arrive among the mischievous girls. When she sees me, Nguyet will say very little while her friends will make a fuss. But it doesn't matter. They are all friends of the drivers, all brave, genuine, and hospitable people. I had driven about 10 kilometers when I encountered a convoy of heavy artillery trucks heading downhill, forcing me to pull over to the side of the road to avoid them. I quickly crawled under the car and shone my flashlight to check the light bulb. As I fumbled with the bulb, I heard a voice beside me ask, "Are you going to the apple or the melon?" "Who's there?" "It's me." A girl hitchhiking." In the light from under the car, a pair of clean pink heels appeared right in front of the car, along with clean rubber sandals and black silk pants with cuffs. She doesn't look like a laborer, I thought. Maybe she's visiting her husband or her lover. I crawled out from under the car, rubbing my eyes with both hands. "Hello, next time if the car stops, don't jump down like that." But the smell of burning rubber inside is too strong. Let me stand out here and breathe for a moment. Through the dim light of the rumbling convoy of vehicles passing by, I caught a glimpse of the girl's beauty, a simple, refreshing beauty like mountain mist emanating from her face, her words, and her slender frame. Quite unlike the many construction site girls who were usually short and plump, she wore a tight-fitting green shirt tied at the waist, her thick hair braided into 2 strands. A new white basket and hat hung lightly from her arm. I asked, "Do you work at the Greenstone Tunnel or are you just visiting someone there?" A hint of shyness flashed across her bright face. "I work at the tunnel." "Oh, I forgot to ask your name." "I'm Nguyet." "Oh, I see." I pretended not to notice and quickly looked at the girl again carefully. Then opening the cabin door wide, I eagerly invited her in. "It smells like burnt rubber in there." "Come on in." There's room next to me. The convoy of 57mm artillery trucks was so powerful. The roads and mountains shook violently. My heart pounded in my chest. The girl deliberately sat close to the door, her straw basket tucked tightly in her lap, leaving a wide space between us. To be honest, in my entire driving career, I had never invited a girl to sit in the driver's cabin. This was a special case. I reached out and turned on the small light in the cabin. The girl looked at my little house with curious and slightly shy eyes. I began to ask cautiously, In your underground team, there are many girls named Nguyet, right? How did you know? Our unit has 3 Nguyets, but one was killed in action, so now there's just me and one other sister left. When did Sister Nguyet die? I hurriedly asked, my own voice sounding like someone else's. About 3 or 4 months ago, during the enemy's bombing raid that completely destroyed the Jazan Bridge. She fought bravely but was gentle in everyday life. Everyone misses her. Was she married? No, I think she just had a boyfriend. I gripped the steering wheel tightly. The ground beneath the wheels seemed to tilt and spin. I drove slowly and asked again, what about the second Nguyet? She already has 4 children. We often jokingly call her Sister Nguyet the Elder. Why are you asking so many questions? I sighed and made a lame joke. My heart was in turmoil. Could I possibly ask her if she knew Sister Teen? Just asking that would reveal everything, but I still didn't want to or dare to ask. I didn't want to delve into personal matters during a work trip. But then I still couldn't help but wonder. Of the 2 girls, one young and beautiful sitting beside me, and one who had died bravely, which one had carried the first love of my youth in her heart for me all these years, while I remained indifferent? Which of the 2 was the one I was about to seek out? Who was I about to seek out? That question kept spinning in my mind, like a red-hot poker burning my brain. If Nguyet had truly sacrificed herself, I would carry that hatred forever. The car was speeding down a slope. Patches of forest, rock formations, and fields littered with bomb craters fell from above onto the windshield. I suddenly had a premonition and quickly hit the brakes to slow the car down. Through the windshield, I saw a faint green flare flickering above us. How could there be flares without the sound of planes? I listened intently and exclaimed. From the beginning, the girl had been leaning her elbows on the door frame, looking outside. She turned to me and said, "No, it's not that. It's the moon, dear. The real moon. It's the beginning of the month." Since early this evening, I'd been driving through the moonlit night without realizing it. The girl remained calm, sitting and looking out at the sky. I struck a match to light a cigarette, then accelerated the car to go faster, still feeling uneasy inside. Having spent my life behind the wheel, I've encountered many dangerous bombs and bullets, and I'm not a timid man. Yet for some reason tonight I stared at the flares. Through the fogged-up windshield, the moon lay between layers of clouds, pale and faint, its light flickering. Each time the car bounced or rounded a curve, the moon wavered and swayed, sometimes seeming to plunge into the pitch-black depths of the ancient forest, like a game of hide-and-seek. Around midnight on the forest peaks, the southwest wind swept the gray clouds to one corner and blew them away. The wind blew through the camouflage leaves on the roof of the car. Above us, the night sky became clear and high, and in the depths a faint bird call rose. But behind the forests, white mist kept rolling in from nowhere. The river on the left side of the road suddenly disappeared, replaced by a blanket of white mist. Occasionally, a patch of forest or a rocky mountain on the other side of the river would rise up, black and lonely amid the white expanse. My car drove through the billowing mist. A crescent moon hung motionless at the end of the sky, shining brightly like a piece of silver. The car window where the girl sat was filled with moonlight. I don't know why, but at that moment a strange yet certain belief flooded my heart. I was certain that the girl sitting next to me was Nguyet, the very person my sister often mentioned. Every now and then I glanced at Nguyet and saw every strand of her hair shining. Her hair was fragrant, thick, and so youthful. Suddenly, Nguyet turned to me and asked me something. I couldn't hear clearly because my eyes were overwhelmed, as if I had just seen a mirage. The bright moonlight shone directly on Nguyet's face, making it glow and look unusually beautiful. I quickly looked straight ahead at the bumpy road, not daring to look at Nguyet for long. Every stretch of road ahead was also covered in moonlight. Right? Isn't that right? What did you ask? I asked if you guys drive to many places, so you must know a lot of people. Our life as drivers is like that, ma'am. Today this forest, tomorrow that stream. But month after month we remain companions with the road, with the moon alone. I don't know who prompted me then, but I suddenly became so eloquent. Past midnight, as we approached Jazan Bridge, the moon set. We stopped talking. The moon had completely disappeared behind the forest behind us. I turned on the melon-shaped light bulb to brighten the area and told Nguyet, "Listen carefully. There are often planes flying overhead from here on." Nguyet remained calm, looking out the window. "Don't worry, I know this section well." Nguyet guided me to turn the car onto the road leading toward the tunnel. The road dropped sharply, winding around. churning up sticky mud around old and new bomb craters. I stared through the windshield, carefully steering the front wheels to avoid two tire tracks like drainage ditches in the middle of the road. At one point, the front wheels sank too deep into a ditch, and Nguyet had to get out to signal me to pull up. At another point, we couldn't move forward. I had to shift into low gear and keep accelerating. The air in the cabin was stifling. The tires spun, screeching on the scorched rocks. Nguyet looked at the difficult road ahead and said apologetically, "They kept bombing us. We spread so much gravel, but the roads are still like this." I wrung the cloth cap in my hand, wiped the sweat, and thought about the moment when I would have to say goodbye to Nguyet. "Are you getting off soon? Tell me when so I can stop the car." Nguyet was supposed to get off at the guard post at the underground station at the intersection, but she wanted to take me across the river. She laughed and joked, "You gave me a ride and now you're abandoning me when I'm in trouble." I said very seriously, "We'll meet again someday. And even if you got off down there, I would never think of you as someone who abandons others when they're in trouble." "Why, my dear?" "Looking at you, I know." A stream of water appeared before us. The green stone tunnel was short, but a few days ago there had been heavy rains and floods and the water had risen over a meter above the rocks. As soon as we drove down, we heard water gushing into the exhaust pipe. The car shook violently, sometimes rising, sometimes sinking like a ferocious water buffalo. The headlights illuminated the glistening water. Halfway through the tunnel, the water was too deep for the car to continue. Nguyet stood by the door, guiding me to drive right between the two rows of posts. She quickly jumped into the water and told me to turn off the lights. "Is that an airplane?" "Let me listen carefully. You turn off the lights. The lights under the water look far away." The lights were turned off. It had never been so dark. I could only hear the sound of water slapping against the car. I tried to move forward and backward, but the car only rocked, the steering wheel heavy as a millstone. It was a cold night and my clothes were soaked. Nguyet left her clothes behind and quickly waded across to the other side to help me tie the tow rope to a tree trunk. I struggled for a while, but finally managed to pull the car up onto the rocky, uneven road. We were out of breath, still fumbling with the tow rope when the plane arrived. From behind the towering rock formation on the left, they came crashing down like thunder. The roar of aircraft filled the air. I tossed the heavy iron chain from my hands and sprinted toward the vehicle. After taking just 2 steps, Nguyet grabbed me back swiftly and with incredible strength. Nguyet pushed me into something hard and deep. I heard Nguyet's calm breathing and voice. "They're spreading out." A cold flash of lightning lit up the sky, and the earth shook for a moment. After a few seconds of silence, during which I thought I could hear the flapping wings of a tiny cricket, suddenly rocks, stones, and branches, both small and large, fell with a crash and a roar. I just managed to realize that I was standing in a crevice just wide enough for one person, with 2 large tree trunks on either side. Nguyet was hiding on the outer edge. 2 more enemies were about to charge down, another wave. I grabbed Nguyet's hand to pull her into the crevice, but she refused. Nguyet screamed, "If you get hurt, we'll lose the car too. Just hide there." Without hesitation, I picked Nguyet up and placed her in the crevice between the 2 tree trunks, then ran toward the parked car. The enemy fired 20 red bullets, their whistles stinging my face. My car was still there, flames already licking at the tires. I extinguished the fire, climbed into the car, and started the engine. Nguyet had just run to the door. "Let the car go, man, it's still firing under cover, drive." A series of bombs exploded nearby, the blast knocking Nguyet down. I pulled Nguyet inside, closed the cockpit door, and with no lights on, I followed Nguyet's directions and sped off. The enemy circled overhead like a rice mill, flying very low, dropping flares and firing 20mm rounds. Regardless, I kept driving, and Nguyet kept giving clear directions as if she were sitting next to me. "Turn left. There's a bomb crater ahead. Get ready, we're approaching a steep hill with a sharp turn." After a difficult and pitch-black stretch, Nguyet jumped out to scout ahead. I kept my eyes on Nguyet's faint white shadow ahead and drove on. After driving over 2 kilometers, I stopped the car and pulled over to a tall, tree-covered embankment. I turned on the cabin light. The first thing I saw was a trail of blood on Nguyet's shoulder, blood flowing down and staining her blue sleeve red. Oh no, she was injured! I didn't know if Nguyet had been hurt by the first wave of bombs when I was hiding in the crevice, or when she ran after me back to the car. To be honest, at that moment, a love for Nguyet arose in my heart, almost a kind of infatuation mixed with admiration. Nguyet looked at the wound and smiled. Her face was slightly pale but still bright and beautiful. From head to toe, she was soaked like a peacock that had just taken a bath. I pulled a blood-stained handkerchief from my pocket, tied it around her green shirt to stop the bleeding. I suggested taking Nguyet across the tunnel to the unit, but Nguyet waved me off. "This is my territory now. You go ahead before dawn breaks." Then Nguyet smiled. "Don't worry, it's just a scratch. From now until morning I can walk all the way to the sky." The jungle chickens were crowing sparsely. I couldn't leave the car. I had to say goodbye to Nguyet, holding her blood-soaked hand for a long time, and I made a solemn promise. "Tomorrow I'll come back, I'll definitely come." To visit Nguyet, I got on my bike and sped toward the front lines, feeling strangely happy and excited, yet also very worried about Nguyet. Before my eyes, I kept seeing the image of a girl in a green shirt, my handkerchief tied to one arm, wearing a new white hat and carrying a basket, walking back toward the tunnel. At times I saw her turn around, her beautiful face radiant in the moonlight. What happened next? The next day, you had to go to that group of female workers, didn't you? Those listening to the story remained calm. It was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. The jungle fowl crowed sparingly. The sound of a pair of male and female birds calling to each other grew closer. That night I rushed there as fast as I could, but by the time I reached the forward supply post to deliver the goods to the warehouse, it was almost dawn. So I didn't have time to return to the forest to hide the vehicle. I had to park it right there. Then I busied myself finding camouflage leaves, draining the fuel, and cooking rice to eat. It was utterly tedious, and just like that, my day off was gone. The company commander assigned me to go on another trip to the outpost the very next night. This time, I had time to visit my sister's traffic post, which was not far from the female workers' underground headquarters. The female workers' hut in the middle of the forest was very beautiful. Girls are always thoughtful and diligent, unlike us. Their camp was clean and tidy, with a dining hall, a clubhouse. Seeing me arrive, it wasn't Sister Tin, but the other sisters, who were all warm and welcoming, all of them talkative. But how could I respond to them? The first thing I did was observe Sister Tin's expression. Over the past 2 days, I had become absolutely certain that I had found the girl I was looking for, but now, I thought that Nguyet might be the girl who had bravely sacrificed herself 3 or 4 months ago. Ms. Tin led me into the house and scolded me. "Why didn't you come back the day before yesterday? Nguyet only managed to come up for 1 day, waited for you all day without seeing you, and then she had to go back to the office." My heart sank. I asked curiously, "What is she doing back at the office?" "She's taking a new party member class down there." The two of us were in the middle of our conversation when a large, plump woman around 40, carrying 2 bags of bamboo shoots, rushed in and asked, "Where is Lam, Sister Tin's younger brother? Why hasn't he come to report to me?" She grabbed me with her powerful hands. "You look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed driving a car? Let me ask you this, do you know what your crime is?" Sister Tin just covered her mouth and laughed. I didn't understand anything. A moment later, I learned that she was the team's cooking supervisor, Sister Nguyet, the old one, a longtime close friend of my sister. Sister Nguyet, the elder, cheerfully scolded me some more, full of why for years to make little Nguyet wait with red eyes. "If you want to find out about someone, you have to say something." Then she recounted, the other day, she came up here hitching a ride on a military truck. The truck was hit by a bomb along the way, but fortunately, she only suffered minor injuries. She asked, "You still haven't seen her face, have you?" Then he dragged me to a row of small photos plastered densely on a sheet of cement paper in the middle of the clubhouse. Before Sister Nguyet could point, I recognized Nguyet's photo. A few years ago, she looked like a young bird learning to fly. Nguyet was standing precariously on the mountainside, carrying a drill on her shoulder, her innocent dark eyes looking into the distance. Looking at that photo, I couldn't help but remember the bustling days of building bridges. The mountain Nguyet was standing on was one of a range of towering green mountains to the left of the hidden pier. On the day construction began on the bridge here, the quarry team had hundreds of women. Month after month, with a leather safety strap tied around their waists, they bravely climbed the high rock layers, selecting the most beautiful green stone slabs to build the bridge. The bridge took nearly 2 years to complete, blue and beautiful like a dream. But just a few months after its inauguration, American planes dropped bombs and destroyed it. That afternoon, Sister Tin and Sister Nguyet, the elder, saw me off to the riverbank. Sister Nguyet, the elder, held out her large hand before me. Many decent officials wanted to court her. "She was just waiting to meet you. Watch out, don't just speed off like that. I may not have a red thread, but I do have a rope to tie you up." I hurriedly slipped a carefully sealed envelope into the sister's dirty ration bag. Throughout the afternoon, I borrowed paper and pen to write Nguyet her first letter. When I reached the sparse forest, I didn't rush back to where I had hidden the car, but walked along the riverbank to the bridge. The western river was filled with the shadows of deep green mountains, and both banks were covered with reeds and bomb craters. The bridge was cut in half like a clean, sweet blow. The 3 spans on this side had collapsed. Large green stones scattered haphazardly in the riverbed, leaving only 2 rows of pillars standing alone in the sky. Standing on the riverbank amidst the scene of a collapsed bridge, I wondered, after so many years living amidst bombs and destruction, those precious things built by my own hands, how could Nguyet still not forget me? In the heart of that young girl, love and a fierce belief in life. That shimmering green thread could not be severed by any amount of bombs and bullets. Could it be destroyed? The storyteller naturally fell silent, as if listening to an answer from within himself. His friends did not ask him to continue, nor did they talk loudly as they had before. It must have been nearly dawn. Deep in the forest, the pair of birds that had called to each other all night had fallen silent, perhaps having found each other. The horizon to the west suddenly glowed. Then the moon slowly rose above the treetops. Each leaf on the hut's roof glistened like pieces of silver. The late moonlight quietly illuminated the roof and the road covered with tire tracks in front of the door. The storyteller looked up at the rising moon, then lay down among his driver friends. He urged, "Go to sleep, guys. We have to drive tomorrow."